Hello, classmates in EdTech 660. My name is Sarah Aldridge. I've met some of you before, but anyway, it's good to see everyone. I'd like to present my final project, Create Stronger Writing Prompts and Instructional Design Workshop. So you can see that in the blog. So my project basically is an online course that I would like to create for faculty members who teach online. So it's a professional development course. It's kind of meta because it's an online course about online courses. So that is what my project is, and there are a number of components to it I would like to show you. But first, the premise, the need for this course. One of the most common things that I see at work, because I am an instructional designer at Ball State, is that faculty members will often come in and say, yeah, my discussion board didn't quite go how I wanted it to, or I did a blog and I didn't quite get the content I was hoping for. And a lot of times, if they're not getting the results they want, it's because their prompts or their tools are not quite suited for the job. And so this course, I'm going to try to help them write prompts that will get a little bit more what they want from their learners, and also use the tools that are most appropriate for the methods they're using. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So who are my learners? They are faculty members at Ball State, many of whom have terminal degrees, but all of them have at least a master's degree. They're subject matter experts in their field, so I'll have to adjust to that a little bit because when you're talking to someone who is an expert in what they do, sometimes you have to be careful to realize that and acknowledge that they have a lot of expertise and you're just teaching them one specific skill. So it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, the dynamics there. I use the Assure instructional design model, which, as we talked about in class, you already know, analyze the learners, which you just heard. I will continue throughout this video to talk about the objectives. I'll state them. What kind of media materials, utilizing the media and the materials, so I'll talk about that in instructional technologies, and also how I'll require learner participation will be a part of that. And then evaluate and revise. I'm going to talk about all those things. So the objective of the lessons, this is very long, so you can read those. But just to kind of give you a crash course, the learners are going to produce a discussion board prompt that's open-ended to promote student discussion. They'll produce a discussion prompt with well-defined parameters, specific enough for students to write an artifact that meets the outcomes. As I'm sure you can see, it's kind of a balancing act to make something that's both open and well-defined. Given an assignment description, the learner will select the Blackboard tool with the correct focus, content, conversation, or reflection as defined within the lesson. So I'll be talking about how blogs are content heavy, discussion boards are conversation heavy, and journals are reflection heavy. So depending on what faculty members are wanting to accomplish, there may be tools that are maybe more appropriate than others. And finally, given a Blackboard development site, the learner will create a Blackboard journal complete with a prompt that includes an element of reflective learning. So they'll have a chance to do this on their own. So instructional technologies that I will use, I will have an introduction video, which is a lot like the one you're watching right now. There will be a lot of discussion. I would like to model good practices, but I also like to have them rate the prompt. So I'll give them a rubric and give them a template for a rubric and have them decide how strong they think my discussion prompts are on the discussion boards. And I'm going to have some that are strong and some that are not as strong based on the criteria introduced in the lesson. They'll actually create a discussion board, and then they'll create an artifact, whether it's a discussion, a journal, or a blog, whichever is most appropriate. And finally, I'll have a conclusion video where I'm going to summarize, I'm going to restate the objectives and just kind of cover what they've learned, tie it all up. The evaluation plan, this part was very interesting because I don't always do this when I put on professional development sessions, but I intend to start now. I used to just give out a survey. The first way I evaluate this will be what was the peer evaluation, which we did in class. And I got great feedback. It was a really good experience, so thank you, Amanda, for being awesome. She gave me great advice. The next is expert evaluation. I have an expert on assessment in my office, and so I'm going to ask him what he thinks about the course. I would like to make a small pilot group. And then finally, I'd like to use Kirkpatrick's model of evaluation. This is really interesting. So I hope that you've enjoyed hearing about my project. It is something I'm actually intending to put on in the center. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. Hope everyone had a great semester, and goodbye.